So, for those of you keeping track at home, that's three new criminal charges this week and two potential indictments still to come. Here to help us keep all of these cases straight is former federal prosecutor Neama Rahmani. Neema, good to have you back. Let's start with this superseding indictment in the classified docs case and the new charges for the former president. What did you make of these new charges, and how could charges against the third co defendant impact things going forward?
Well, it's not the indictment that we were expecting relating to the 2020 election, but it's still very interesting. First, there's an additional Espionage Act charge related to the attack plans on Iran. This was, of course, discussed in the original indictment and Trump's famous recording, but it's really those additional obstruction charges that are interesting because now we have the former president directly, at least the allegations go, asking one of his employees to destroy video evidence in response to a grand jury subpoena. Pretty powerful stuff if you believe the allegations in the indictment. And importantly, like Avajoy said, now you have an additional co-defendant, Carlos de Oliveira. He's someone that could potentially roll or flip on the president, or he may remain loyal to him. But whenever you have an additional co-defendant as a prosecutor, it gives you more potential cooperating witnesses.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because some of the reporting said that this third person is somebody who could flip on the former president. We'll have to see how all of this shakes out. Let's turn our attention to the January 6th case. The grand jury met Thursday, but no indictment. How long should we expect to wait on a decision like this? And as this drags on, is that good news or bad news for the former president?
I think it's likely that special counsel Jack Smith is going to get that indictment. So I believe, if you believe the reports, that the grand jury is going to meet again on Tuesday. I wouldn't be surprised if we do get an indictment on Tuesday or sometime next week. And, when you're looking at a grand jury, usually you have about 23 grand jurors, and you only need 12 to get an indictment, a true bill. So a simple majority, and the standard's pretty low. It's probable cause. It's not beyond a reasonable doubt. So, I put more than 1,000 people in federal prison, and I never once got a no bill. It's pretty easy to get a grand jury indictment.
That's good to know. As a former federal prosecutor, what did you make of this meeting between former President Trump's lawyers and the prosecutors handling this January 6th case? Is this business as usual or something here stand out to you?
I think it is business as usual. It's a desperate and last attempt by Trump's lawyers to stave off an indictment. We saw the exact same thing in Manhattan when Trump's lawyers unsuccessfully met with District Attorney Alvin Bragg there shortly before an indictment. And of course, they did the same thing before the documents case was indicted there in southern Florida. So this is something that the president's lawyers, out of courtesy, are going to meet with prosecutors, try to convince them not to indict. But I think that decision's already been made and the train has left the station.
All right, with the last few moments we have here, we won't know the exact charges until there's an indictment and the former president is arraigned, but there are a few that have been floated. You mentioned obstruction, conspiracy to defraud the U.S. What can you tell us about these potential charges and how the prosecution might lay out their case?
Well, there's a few charges that we expect, and there's one additional one that we saw in that target letter that was sent to Trump's lawyers. So, conspiracy to defraud the United States, that's a 371 conspiracy. Prosecutors like that charge, and I expect that to happen in this case. And then we see obstructing an official proceeding. That's something that the DOJ has used a lot in the Capitol riot cases, but we are potentially going to see a new charge, something that's rarely charged, and that's it's a civil rights statute that's really a conspiracy to basically prevent folks from exercising their right to vote. So it's a Civil War era statute, hasn't often been charged, but I think we're going to see that in this case as well, a different type of conspiracy related to voter suppression.
Yeah, former federal prosecutor Neama Rahmani. As always, thanks for joining us. Coming up,
Thank